and he was like,
"You gotta kick me off the bus if you're gonna make me stop smoking."
Because it's so mysterious. It's so elusive.
Yo, what's up everybody? It's Jibs. Let's get right into it. So I was getting close to graduating college. It was my last semester and I was feeling good. I was like, I've blossomed as a human being and I've gained all these social skills and I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be able to get a job, no problem. Little did I know that as I was approaching graduation that I really had no real skills. A major in international relations and a minor in theater really doesn't get you anywhere. So instead of trying to find a really low-paying entry-level job anywhere, I did what a lot of other people in my major, my situation were doing, applied for grad school. I know that I always wanted to work on the international level or with international politics and policy and in some capacity working with the environment. So I ended up applying for environmental policy school in Pittsburgh. So I ended up applying for this program. I got in and I was going to start the fall after I graduated from college. The program I got into was an environmental policy program. And I thought that I was going to be going to public policy. I was going to be making some big changes, some big waves.
Yeah, I was ready to change the world, man.
I moved to this brand new city, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to tackle the world, solve the world's environmental policy issues, and to make brand new friends. I had found this new independence where I wasn't living in an area with my parents or with people that I knew from the past. It was this brand new slate where I could do whatever I wanted to and be whoever I wanted to be. So I remember starting class and meeting all these people that were in the same boat as I was. They had just graduated with political science degrees or international relations degrees, and they'd really had nowhere to go. No jobs were really looking for people with those kind of degrees, and so they went to grad school just like me. Now, I need to preface by saying that I've never actually liked school. I've always been bad at it. I've never been good at studying. I've never been good at sitting there and listening to a lecture or listening to a professor drone on and on unless they were really engaging. And I never really had the initiative during my classes to learn the material if I wasn't passionate about it. So I was super excited, and I remember on the first day of class, the first class I had was quantitative analytics. And I sit down and the professor starts going over what the course is going to entail, and I open the book and I realize that I am fucked. I don't really know what's going on. I just hope that the people that I'm in this class with are also in the same boat and that we can learn together and progress forward together. As time is going on, as the semester progresses, I'm falling behind. I'm finding that in a lot of these classes, though I really enjoy learning about the policy side and the historical side of things going on in the world, I really did not like writing essays. I did not like writing reports or reading these giant dry textbooks. It just didn't click with me, and I wasn't passionate about what was going on. So while the semester was going on, I ended up getting this fellowship program with this organization whose mission it was to turn vacant and blighted land into community space, because Pittsburgh is very similar to Detroit or Toledo. These are all Rust Belt cities that have been hit really hard by industry leaving, and so it's really imperative that these smaller organizations are working towards these goals. And I thought that was an amazing mission. I really would love to be a part of that. I've always been community oriented. So I applied for the program, I got in, and I started doing this fellowship and started working while I was in school. So as time is progressing, as the semester is going on, I am having an amazing time. I am making amazing friends, people I really click with on a different level, and it's amazing because I have this new independence. I start doing crazy things that I've never done before, like grow my hair out, or I got a nose ring, or I got an earring. Story on that later. But while I feel like I was progressing in this social way, I was really falling behind in my studies because, again, I wasn't passionate about what I was learning or about the way that I was learning it. So while on this academic side, I was doing really, really shitty, on this professional, more fellowship side, I started honing skills and becoming more passionate for things that eventually changed the trajectory of my professional life. I ended up getting this letter at the end of the semester in the mail that told me I was on probation. That if I don't get my grade back above a 3.5, that I'm going to be expelled the next semester. At this point in my life, I know that I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be learning this subject anymore. I didn't want to be in school for this thing anymore. I know that I didn't want to be taking up all this debt that at the time I didn't realize how big of an impact that would have on the decisions that you make day to day. Halfway through the semester, I was on the Greyhound bus. By the way, if you have experience riding the Greyhound bus, then you know how dirty, dank that bus can get and those bus stations can be. I remember this one time at one of the Greyhound bus stations, there was this dude literally in the lobby of the Greyhound station on his phone watching porn full volume. There are like kids around, man. Like, what are you doing? I mean, he was getting his rocks off. He was having a good time. So I also remember this one time on the Greyhound bus, there was this guy that started smoking on the bus. And he started arguing with the bus driver because the bus driver told him to stop smoking. And he was like,
You gotta kick me off the bus if you're gonna make me stop smoking.
Anyway, I remember I was on this bus. I got home. I was going to tell my dad I'm going to drop out because my dream is to be a news anchor on Stephen Colbert or Jon Stewart. And we were in the car and I told him that, said, okay, if you're going to drop out, then you should have a plan for dropping out. You should have a job lined up so that if you decide to go to New York, that you're not doing this willy-nilly and you don't have this downtime, but you got to tell your mom. And so I remember going home and telling her, and she was crying, and it was a whole ordeal. I had felt like I really, really disappointed my parents at that point. I decided, I'm going to email all of my professors and mentors from college just to see what they feel like I should do. And everybody I emailed told me that I should stay in school, that I should tough it out, get my grades back up, and I can do what I want to do after I graduate because at least I'll have a graduate degree to fall back on. Here's the thing, is that I knew that everybody that told me to stay in school had the right intentions, but I know that I just didn't want to be there. I end up staying. So the next semester, again, I have this fellowship program. I'm getting more and more passion for turning vacant land and blighted land into community space and working with communities to empower them to improve their own communities. I'm deepening my friendships and my relationships there, and I'm embracing the freedom that I have even more and more with each day. But again, with the classes, I just didn't care. I just did not care whether I did well in those classes or how my papers were or even if I read the material. I mean, I liked listening to the lectures, but I just honestly did not want to do the work because I wasn't passionate for it. I've always been someone that if what I'm doing doesn't feel right, then I won't do it. And if I really want to do something or if I'm really passionate about something, then I'm going to do my best to learn about that thing and do it. Fast forward through the semester and I get a notice that I have been expelled from the school and that if I want to fight that I can go to the school's board and fight it. So I decided to fight it, and my argument honestly wasn't that great. I just said that, I could get my grades back up, but again, there was no passion behind that letter that I even wrote or the intention I had behind that letter. I ended up not approving it and now I'm kicked out. I decided to finish out this fellowship program and not tell my parents that I had been kicked out, and by the end of the summer, I was left in this place where I had no fellowship. I didn't know what to do with my life, and I was just applying for jobs because I just didn't know what to do. I told my parents, and I eventually moved back to Detroit. Everything that happened in that year while I was in grad school changed the trajectory of my life forever, in good ways and in bad ways. And that is a topic for another video. Let's talk about some of the positives about being in grad school. So I met amazing people and I connected with people on a different level, and that's because what I found is that the difference between grad school and undergrad is that in undergrad you kind of just make friends based on you have the same classes or you do the same activities or whatever. But in grad school, everybody's kind of there for the same reason or has the same passion, so you connect with them on a different level. That was really cool to be a part of. I had my first real sense of independence. Now, this is the first time I lived on my own other than when I lived in Turkey for a short while. And the kind of independence that I felt at that time is similar to the kind of independence that I think a lot of college kids feels when they move out of their house for the first time and they're living in a dorm and they kind of go crazy. I gained work experience through my fellowship there that changed the trajectory of my professional life. Everything that I learned from there, from that fellowship program, has impacted every professional decision I've made ever since then. And I am now in a line of work that is similar to that field. And if I had never gone to grad school, then I honestly don't think that I'd be in this field and love it as much as I do. Let's talk about some of the negatives. I was paying out of state tuition for graduate school. So graduate school is already more expensive than undergrad, and it's out of state. So my per semester, per class price was crazy. And now that debt is following me everywhere and impacts every financial decision that I make. And now I owe over $100,000 in student debt. That's a combination from grad school and from undergrad. And at the time, I didn't realize what kind of an impact student loan debt has on you. So if you're trying to figure out whether grad school is right for you or not, there are some lessons that I've learned and some questions that I've learned to ask others if they are thinking about going to grad school. And that is what I want to share with you. Do you really know what you want to do? So I don't think that you should be going to grad school if this is not a subject that you're absolutely passionate about and it's a career that you want to make out of your life. Do you need this degree to succeed in the field that you're going into? So if it's a professional technical degree that you need a graduate degree for, maybe it is a little bit more important. But in my case, for environmental policy or for policy school, I do not believe that you need to go to policy school to get work in policy. Do you have a passion for what you're learning? This goes back to the first question, that if you don't feel like I could do this every single day and that opening this textbook really excites me because I'm learning new nuances and new facets of my field and my career, then it's something that you should think twice about. Affordability. This is a really big one. I had said previously that I am in debt, and student loan debt affects your life day to day. You do have a couple different options. So if you have graduated college and you end up getting a job with a company, and down the line that company says that, we'd be willing to pay for a portion of your graduate school, that's a really good deal and something that you should consider. Other options are scholarships. If you have unique circumstances or a unique set of skills, there are a lot of scholarships out there that are willing to cover a portion, if not all, of your graduate school studies. It just takes a little bit of more effort to apply for those scholarships. I unfortunately did not take the time to look into those things when I originally went to school. And so those are just a few of the things that if you are thinking about paying for school, that you should look into. Will the skills that you learn from this degree be in demand once you graduate? Is the graduate degree that you're chasing more technical, and is the field growing and the industry growing where you know that after you graduate you'll get a job immediately? For me, a lot of my colleagues that had graduated from the program I was in had a hard time getting work after graduating because public policy is a degree where honestly, once you graduate with it, you can't make any substantial dent to your student loan debts that you ended up acquiring. So figure out whether your skill is an industry where is the skill in demand? Is it paying high enough wages where I know that I can pay back this debt that I have in a substantial way? So the last thing I want to talk about is comparing the cost of school and what you learn from graduate school versus chasing another opportunity or going down the entrepreneurial path. Let's say the cost of grad school is $40,000. If you had $40,000 and you put that into starting a business, think about over, let's say, 2 years, because that's how long a graduate program typically is, then what kind of skills would you gain in two years of entrepreneurial activity? Do you think you'd have a successful business? Most importantly, is that experience and the experience you gain from that 2 years of starting a business with $40,000 the same experience that you'd get from going to graduate school? Now, this applies more so for graduate programs that are more soft skill based, like public policy, like which I was in. If you do need a professional degree, like being a doctor or being a lawyer, then obviously you have to go down that path. But for the most part, I feel as though a lot of programs teach you the skills that you can learn on your own using less money that you end up spending in graduate school. From my experience in entrepreneurship, in my experience starting a nonprofit, starting social enterprises, I've learned more in a few months' time than I ever could have learned in an entire year, or even in the entire 2 years of being in graduate school. If you feel like there are some things that I didn't cover that you think are important for people to know, please leave them below in the comments so other people can learn as well. I hope that if you are thinking about going to graduate school, that this video helped at least a little bit, and that the advice that I had and the questions that I presented kind of help you make that decision a little bit better. But if you're looking to be crippled by massive amounts of debt, then
Don't listen to me.